Shema Israel. Hope you enjoy this next study. My name's Dee. This is my wife, Millie.
So if you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you wish to reach out to us, you can email us at devotedtoyah@gmail.com.
Here's the other account, Luke chapter 6, verse 6 to 11 of the same story. It says, Luke 6, starting at verse 6, and it came to pass also on another Sabbath that he entered into the synagogue and taught. Here's a different thing. This is a different one. Now this is saying that he was teaching on this in the synagogue on this particular Sabbath. That's cool. And that's very interesting. Once again, I like to just imagine, like, what was Yahushua's position? I just think of how the synagogues functioned back in those days. Or was he doing something out of order? This is a question I have. I'm just brainstorming right now. Like, you know, when you go to a typical church or a synagogue, I mean, I haven't really been to a Jewish synagogue, so I can't honestly say I know how it functions, but churches is what I'm familiar with as a Christian growing up. In churches, the atmosphere is not conducive for other people other than the pastor who is on the pulpit to be teaching. It's not conducive to that. There's a structure, there's a schedule, there's a protocol, right? But I wonder, how is it that Yahushua was teaching in the synagogue? Was it after the Sabbath reading and service was over? And people break up into groups, you know, like in churches, you know, once the service is over, people are saying bye and talking to people and hanging around. So I wonder when did he find time to teach? From what I do know, my reading is that many times there were different people would go to the synagogues and there were different sections. They were like, it was so big, like sometimes people would congregate in different areas of the synagogue. There would be a group over here, a group over there, a group over here. And so it's very possible that that's what was going on as well. But that always gets to me. Anyway, he went to the synagogue and was teaching, and there was a man whose right hand was withered. Now we're getting specific, which specific hand? The right hand. And the scribes and Pharisees watched him, whether he would heal on the Sabbath day. There you go, same as Mark. And they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts. Here's a different verse that wasn't in the other ones. It says that Yahusha knew their thoughts. Who else do you know about in scripture who's able to read the thoughts of man? Scripture says that man judges by the outward appearance, but God judges the heart. Interesting. Yahusha is also able to know the thoughts of man. Wow, I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because Yahusha is Yahuwah. Maybe because the Son is the Father. Maybe because there's one person between the Father, Son, and Spirit. They're all the same person. Maybe there's really just one God. Maybe there really is just one God. And maybe Yahusha is also that God. I 110% believe he is. And here's another scripture that gives you insight into that mystery. But he knew their thoughts and said to the man which had the withered hand, rise up. So now we got rise up, step forward, and stretch out your hand. These are the instructions. Get up, come here, lift your hands up. This is something we should all keep in mind. Take authority when it comes to moments like this. Don't hesitate. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Be confident. Be confident in who you serve. Be confident in what you're here to do. If, like I said, if the Spirit is upon you to minister to someone in this way. take confidence. Rise up, come forward, stretch out your hand. So he says, rise up, stand forth in the midst. Rise up, step forward, over here. Give him a specific place to go to. I mean, there's something to this. It's not accidental. It says, and he rose and stood forth. He got up and he stood where the man wanted, where Yahusha wanted him to. I don't know if that was a test. Let me see how many instructions this man will follow to see if he really wants to be healed. Brother D, devoted, be like, all right, get up, stand up, sit back down, stand up, go to the left, come back over here. Okay, I think you're ready. Stretch out your hand. You know, like, I don't know. What was Yahusha's intention for this? I know, regardless of what the intention is, we know he wanted to heal him, and that's what he was out to do. But it does feel to me like there's something about this authority to speak and to instruct, you know. Very cool. Very cool. So he rose up and he stood forth. Then said Yahusha unto them, I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil? So check this out. He asked the man to stand up, come forth, come to this spot, and then he talks to the crowd before he actually does the healing. Love that. Love that. The confidence there to say, listen, I know your guys' hearts. You don't even got to talk to me right now. I know what you're thinking. Let me talk to you guys. Let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question, rather. Let me ask you a question, which is another technique that we see Yahuwah doing all the way back in the garden, Genesis chapter 2, when Adam and Eve sinned. Adam, where are you? What have you done? As if Yahuwah didn't know. Many times asking that question draws a person in, gets their engagement, and you also hold them accountable. Is it good? Is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it? And looking round about upon them all, he said unto the man, now stretch forth thy hand. And he did so, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And they were filled with madness and communed one with another what they might do to Yahusha. Like I said, you cannot heal or help someone who has their mind made up and has a stubborn heart. I've come to the conclusion there's nothing I can do, absolutely nothing I can do to convince a Christian that the law has not been done away with and that we're not to hate the law. We're actually to practice it, establish it, to do it and observe it in faith in Messiah. There's nothing I can do to convince people that hate the law already, that they believe it's witchcraft and sorcery and a burden. There's nothing we can do but pray for them. I can preach to them till I'm blue in the face. You know, we can show them the greatest of scriptures to prove our point, but only Yahuwah could change their hearts. All right, now let's go to some other scriptures about Yahusha doing healings on the Sabbath. Luke chapter 13, starting at verse 10, it says, now he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. There he goes teaching again. And behold, there was a woman who had a spirit of infirmity 18 years and was bent over and could in no way raise herself up. She was bent over in pain. But when Yahusha saw her, he called her to himself and said to her, woman, you are loosed from your infirmity. Wow. The ability to walk in such authority and confidence. Take note of this. Woman, you are loosed. Woman, be loosed from your infirmity. He didn't say be loose. He said you are loose in this particular passage. There is a distinction. Not that the other one's bad, but I mean, that's like real confidence. If you go up to somebody and say, yo, you are healed from your infirmity. You are delivered from your infirmity in Yahusha's name. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified God. The laying on of hands is also a very powerful tool that Yahuwah has given to Israel to heal. Let's keep that in mind as well, as a tool in our pocket on how to operate in the spirit in this way. Verse 14, but the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation. Here we go again. Stubborn folk. Because Yahusha had healed on the Sabbath. And he said to the crowd, there are 6 days on which men ought to work. Therefore, come and be healed on them. Lost my place. All right, verse 14. The ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation because Yahusha had healed on the Sabbath. And he, the ruler of the synagogue, said to the crowd, there are 6 days on which men ought to work. Therefore, come and be healed on those days, but not on the Sabbath day. And again, that's what you guys are going to find out if you do some research. And again, you might find different information. I was finding like a blend on this particular PDF file I came across of this Jewish what physicians are allowed and not allowed to do on the Sabbath. But you might find more stricter Talmudic, teachings than other ones. I guess there's variations, just like there is in everything, right? Different denominations in Christianity. There's different groups, different denominations within the Hebrew roots movement as well. Nobody's exempt from this type of stuff. But right here, this is a straightforward, no healing is to be done on the Sabbath. There is not one verse in the Old Testament that you can find to justify that commandment right there. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. So what does Yahusha say? It says, then the Lord answered the ruler, and said, hypocrite, does not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or donkey from the stall and lead it away to water it? So ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, think of it, for 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath day? What brilliance, Yahusha. Brilliance. I love him using this, what do you call it, allegory, metaphor, right? He's bringing you a spiritual example or a physical example. Men physically on the Sabbath day go out in their farms, they unlock the gates, open the gates, and let their animals and lead them to water so they can drink. Why not loose this woman from this bond, this jail, this prison that she's in on a Sabbath day? Wow, man. That's awesome. Love that. So brilliant. Again, Yahusha asks the question, engage with when you're dealing with skeptics, people who are skeptical of you. Let's be creative in coming up with questions before we actually do our good deed. And it says, when he said these things, all his adversaries were put to shame. It's okay to put our enemies to shame. And all the multitude rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him. You see, you gain some, you lose some. You gain some and you lose some. The point is just to do what's right. Do what the Spirit is asking you to do. Do what you believe the Spirit is leading you to do, and hopefully it's leading you to do good on the Sabbath day. Regardless what any Christian says or what any Jew will tell you, do good on the Sabbath day. All right.